Good morning. The old man here, January 10th, 2025. I'll talk about a few different things this morning. I'm going to start off with a little bit more prepping. I have picked up 5 more bags of beans. I was mentioning on the last video that they had local granary had 2023 navy beans at $16 and some change per bag of 50. Was there yesterday morning to pick up 5 more and found out that they only had 2 bags left at $16 and change a bag, so I picked them up. And the 2024 beans were actually $32.50 a bag, and I picked up 3 of those as well. Keep in mind that the normal red beans that I buy are 52 or $3 per bag of 50. At the end of the day, I think that's still a relatively good price. Not sure I kind of think they're worth $20 more a bag. Keep in mind, if you're canning, I like to pressure cook the beans. I do a dry pack where, in a way, I put in a quart jar, I'll put 1 cup of dry beans, fill up the jar with water to the top or to the bottom of the threads on the jar, or the very, the top of the shoulder of the jar, not all the way to the top. You got to have some open headspace there for expansion. And I got an All-American, one of the largest All-American pressure cookers that they make. I want to say I can do, it's either 19 or 21 quarts at a time. The downside to that is it does take quite a while for that to come up to pressure, probably an hour. And it takes a long time to cool off, but at the end of the day, when you get that one batch done, you've got, well, theoretically, you got 19 days worth of cooked beans. Out of each one of those, I would say I do also, I'll take a quart of the beans and a cup of rice and cook that together with some bone broth. And with that, I'll get at least 4 servings, and I do 4 healthy servings. I think if you were in a shit hit the fan situation, that you'd actually make probably 6 servings out of a quart of beans and a cup of rice. So, and I also use a quart of bone broth at that point, and then add whatever meat you want. Typically, I'll add a pint jar, 1 pound of pressure cooked hamburger to that. Makes a really decent meal. We joke around and call that our jail food. But at any rate, so that's where that's at. I do believe we're going to see shortly, we're going to see another round of inflation shortly, mostly because they started lowering rates, which I believe was mostly political, of which didn't do them damn bit good. But they started lowering rates back in September, just before the election. In the meantime, they've dropped 100 basis points, and the 10-year bond market has gone up 100 basis points. So actually, they balanced it off, and it's not going to do them a damn bit of good. They're a little hawkish right now, saying that they're not going to raise. They're only going to lower interest rates 2 more times in 2025. We'll see how that works. they might have to go up. I believe they're going to have to go up, but whatever. We'll see. Let's see what kind of games they decide to play. The other thing, keep an eye on is the job numbers come out today. In other words, unemployment numbers come out today. This is Friday the 10th. Of course, I mentioned that. But they've been cooking the books on the job numbers for at the least the last 10 or the last 2 years, so that they could claim that we're not in a recession. They didn't want to put that on the Biden administration, that they went into a recession. Same thing they did at the end of Carter's administration the last 2 years. All the stupid shit he did really was inflationary, and it was killing the job market. And in fact, I graduated in 81. When I graduated in June of 81, I mean, I'm telling you, there wasn't shit for jobs. Everybody in General Motors was laid off. Most of the people were heading out of state. If you wanted to work, you had to go to Texas. And if you were into trades, any kind of trades, you had to go to Texas. And most of my friends left and went to Texas. I stayed here. I had 2-3 jobs at any given time, one full-time and a couple part-times. But I knew a lot of people, and it made a big difference. And I had the mindset that I wasn't going nowhere, I'm not leaving, and I'm just going to make it work. And that's what I did. It worked out at the end of the day. And that's the thing is the proper mindset. Things are going to get a little tough here. I'm not sure them job numbers, like I said, they've been cooking the books on that for the last 2 years. The reason for that is to keep the population's mindset that we're not, we're tough times, but we're not officially in a recession. That makes people do things that they wouldn't normally do, like still go out and borrow money, maybe switch jobs, spend money that they don't really have, things like that. That kind of half-ass keeps the economy going, even though it's on a downhill trend. It's slow enough that most people don't see it coming. It also gives the smart money the opportunity to slowly back out of the stock market, because if you jump out, the big money jumps out of the stock market crashes. But if they do it slow over a couple years, retail is looking to, they're chasing yield, and because everything in their world is getting tight as inflation goes up, you're chasing more yield. The way to get more yield is to chase something that keeps going up. Let's say NVIDIA, for example, but that's higher and higher on the risk scale. Your PE ratios on all your top 7, top 10, or whatever is so high. It's the highest level the stock market's been on since 1928. So that'll give you an idea where the stock market's at. I'm not telling you, a lot of people are going to say, well, you got to stay in the stock market to get that, to get that yield. You can't, it just keeps going up. Well, if they think it's going to go up forever, I'm sorry, I think they're wrong. But that's just me. Who knows? I think you're going to see some real life shit start here soon. In the UK's bond market, it's called the gilt market. The 10-year just hit 5.25%, and it's right near what most economists consider the tipping point. If it gets any higher, even though they've lowered the short-term interest rates, the gilt is going up at the 10-year. Same with our bond market. They've lowered on this end, on the short end of the lending term, of which is just for the banks, honestly. But yet the 10-year is going up. And we're near there. We're pushing, we're not quite to 5% yet, but we're on our way. So that's also something to keep an eye on. The other thing I want to talk about today is Donald Trump. In some ways, he's basically given or trolling. This is the word I was just looking for, and I found it. He's trolling everybody in the country, honestly, or in the world. He's trolling them all. He is such a loose cannon when it comes to politics because he doesn't follow normal politics. So that to them is a loose cannon. They have no idea what he's going to do. In fact, we have no idea what he's going to do. But when he starts talking about things like making Canada 51st state, basically that was trolling Trudeau and making people aware in Canada that your economy and your parliament, which is just an extension of England, your parliament is a mess. They sold you down the river. They've entered you into a globalist society. They've even sold off all your gold. When, not if, but when Canada's economy crashes, it's crashing hard. And the problem with that is for the United States, and you got to think, Trump's thinking ahead. Most people don't even see what's coming, not to the economies, not alone anything else. What are the after effects? What is the first order of consequences for their economy crashing? What's the second? What's the third? What's the fourth effect of that economy crashing? Well, he's thinking far enough down the road that he can see if that economy is bad enough and everybody starts to lose everything. And even though the United States is in tough shape, if we're even 10 or 20% better than Canada, the money people in Canada are coming here. In fact, it's already showing since Trump was nominated, or since Trump was elected, that a lot of big money people are getting visas, starting to liquidate and starting to move to the United States. And that's with Trump's big money thing, where he said, you bring a billion dollar or more project here, we're going to cut through all the red tape. And what nobody understands is that red tape is costing billions or I should say millions and millions and millions of dollars. If it takes you 2 or 3 years to get a project on the ground and get it going, that's all time. Time is money. Okay, and if it takes 2 or 3 years to get a project going, you gotta put that into your equation, and that doesn't make things look near as profitable as if you can just get it going tomorrow, or let's say 6 months from now. And that's what he's talking about. If you build a $1 billion or more project here, he's going to cut all the red tape, and that's part of draining the swamp. So a lot are going to say, well, how in the hell is he going to do that? How is he going to cut all the red tape? Well, first of all these three-letter agencies have been acting way beyond what they're supposed to do. They're actually, the Congress gives them laws, and then these three-letter agencies are supposed to apply these laws and make sure they're followed. What they're going is above and beyond those laws and actually creating new laws on their own in a way. And that's adding more and more and more red tape. And so they can't even get a project going. Sometimes it takes 5 or 10 years to get a project going. And the way that is to grease all the right wheels. And again, so if it takes you 5 years to get a project going and it costs you a few $1 million to grease all the right palms, what the hell? And so that's what he's going to do. He's going to cut the red tape. And with these three-letter agencies that have been acting beyond their mandate, that's coming to an end. The Supreme Court has already ruled on it. If you look at the Chevron deal that was in court for many years, it finally made it to the Supreme Court, and they had ruled that the one of the three-letter agencies, I'm not sure, went way past their mandate given to them by Congress, and basically what they were doing to this guy was unconstitutional. It didn't, or this company actually, was unconstitutional, and that it wasn't law. So all the fines and everything that would basically put them out of business were all gone now. But what that also did is set precedents that Trump can get rid of all this shit. Any of these three legislative agencies try to go beyond the laws that have already been passed. It's cut. It's gone. And so that's how they're going to get rid of so much of the bureaucracy, if you're trying to figure that out. And going back to Canada, he's just basically telling them, you got to get out from underneath the thumb of English rule. And England's going to burn. That's all there is to it. That economy is dying. The British people are great people, but that parliament, oh my God, is such a goddamn mess. And in the past, they depended on us every time they started a pile of shit, depended on the U.S. to come in and spend money and spend troops to back them up. It's not coming this time. And so the other thing Trump's worried about and thinking ahead is that if it gets bad enough in Canada, not only the big money people are going to move, but so many of just everyday people, everyday folks are going to move. And that's going to give us a flood of people from our northern border. And Jesus Christ, we don't need that. I mean, we welcome the Canadians, but man, if you get a flood of people from anywhere, of which you could see what they were getting from the southern borders for the last 4.5 years or more, actually goes all the way back to the Kenyans' reign. There was a lot of immigrants then. Trump kind of put a bit of a squash on it, although they were still coming through, but he really slowed it down. And then 4 years of Biden, oh my God, we just tens of thousands. If they're saying 10 million come through, it was probably close to 20 million. Here in Michigan, we even got people all over any of these low-priced hotels that used to, just harbor people that, they were on the move or they came here to work. Let's say we've had guys from out of state come up here and work in Michigan, do different projects like running underground cables and whatever. They would stay at these motels, temporarily. So these motels were pretty busy. But under the Biden administration, they filled them right up full of illegal immigrants because they were actually paying more than these companies were paying to rent these apartments, especially the cheaper ones. So we've got them all over Michigan full of illegal aliens. So we'll see how that works out. I don't honestly see a mass deportation that some are talking about. And the reason for that is, again, thinking down the road, if you want the Industrial Revolution 2.0, and I think that's what it's going to be called at the end of the day, you need a lot of people. You need a lot of bodies. And that's a lot of labor work. And from building to then factory workers and whatever else, that's a lot of folks. And tell you the truth, the United States is already upside down in its population. There's more people over 50 than there is under 50. So, we all know that once you get past 50, especially past 50, you're not putting out the labor you used to, and it's significantly less. So we're in trouble unless we get new blood. And that's honestly what we did in the first Industrial Revolution. So many people migrated here because there was no opportunity left in the motherland, wherever they were coming from. I don't care where they came from. My great-grandparents came from Czechoslovakia and Germany. and you go back farther than that, some come from England. But in the Industrial Revolution, uh, they came here to be part of the Industrial Revolution. They both wound up being farmers here in Michigan. The climate here was very similar to what they had back there, back in the home country, and so they took up farming. And honestly, Michigan needed that. Michigan needed farmers. They needed more farmers, and they cleared the land and they farmed the land. And then, but a lot of people came to the United States and moved into the factories, and started working in the factories, or started working, like in Michigan, there was a lot of lumber mills and there was lots of timbering. In fact, there's still timbering, but back then there was a lot of timber workers. And so because we needed to build. And so, Michigan was a big part of that, not only in the auto industry, other manufacturing industries. We did a lot of furniture back in the day. There's a lot of things done here in Michigan that aren't here no more. But I think this is going to be Industrial Revolution 2.0. And with that, we're going to need these, what we're calling now illegal immigrants. I think they need to be vetted. And, and if they turn out to be not criminals from another country, of course, the criminals, we need to catch them any way we can and deport them, get them back to their home country. But anybody that's here legally, honestly, we're going to need those folks. And most of those guys are they came here for a better life. I don't think it was as the Davos crowd or the globalists had evil intent to basically suck up the wealth of this country. But now you got Trump on the other end of the deal, where he's going to need those people. We're going to need those people. And honestly, I'm not against immigration. My family and most of the families that built this country came from other countries. They're hardworking people, and I think that's what you're going to see. I think you're going to see a lot of those illegal aliens put to work, given the opportunity, maybe, let's say over 5 years, to prove yourself that you're willing to assimilate, that you're willing to work, and you're going to stay out of trouble. And after that, 5 years, and okay, we plug you into becoming a citizen in the United States, and with that, you can bring your immediate family over. Let's say your wife and children over, if that's the case, who knows? Maybe even parents and siblings. Who knows how far that's going to go? But with the Industrial Revolution that we're going to see here in the United States, the Industrial Revolution 2.0, if you will, it's going to be insane. But all the countries around the world have made it so tough. I should say most, not all. They've made it so tough to make an income that is going to be worth the risk to come to the United States. And that's going to have to be controlled. Again, we need those people. We need some people, but it needs to be controlled. And again, if Canada, our neighbors to the north, collapse, there's not going to be any control. We're going to be dealing with people trying to come across on the southern border and the northern border. And oh my God, that northern border, to fence that off, Jesus Christ. It cost us billions and billions, and we need to be building factories and infrastructure and nuclear plants and whatever else. We don't need to be building a fence. We will if we have to, but just think of the time and money and energy and even the workforce that you'll tie up that could be doing something else. One other quick thing, I've seen some of the talking heads, the financial guys and shit, they're just such morons, saying that, well, if you cut all of these government employees that can be cut, that's going to take your GDP way down, and it's going to put us into a depression. Well, yeah, if you don't think you got anything for them to do, you dumbass. As of right now, that's kind of like, I don't even have an analogy for that. It's just so stupid. But there's a lot of fat in the government. Not all government employees are bad, don't get me wrong. All I'm saying is there's a lot of fat, there's a lot of bureaucracy. If you cut out that bureaucracy, those people could be doing something to actually add to the GDP of the country. Where right now, they're not producing anything, they're not really doing a job, and they're taking away from the GDP of the country. That's a no-brainer, and I honestly think people that are, they may be drawing Social Security right now, they may be retired right now, but they're going to have the opportunity to come off that retirement and make some real money teaching people how to do the job they used to do. That's going to be huge for another 4 or 5 years at least. There's so many jobs that have been completely eliminated and run off to China and whatever else. But there's still a lot of good folks around that can teach those jobs here in the United States. And let me tell you, there's a lot of people that want to work, but they need to be compensated. And in the past, we were compensated with fake fiat dollars. And the thing about that is any fake currency, the fiat dollar, if you will, it's built in that they can rob you with that fiat currency. I think what we're going to see, of course, with the gilt going up in England, that just tells you that the people are losing faith in the dollar or their pound actually, and as they lose more faith in the pound, in other words, they're going to have to inflate. The pound's going to be worth less or less purchasing power. Excuse me. That's going to drive the interest rate on the 10-year up. So that's just the currency going down. Also, with that same note, the 10-year went up. Well, so did the price of gold. The price of gold went to an all-time high. Well, again, like I've said before, did the gold go up to an all-time high? No. In reality, the pounds is now at an all-time low. And for a little bit here, our gold price after Trump got elected has come back some, mostly because people are thinking that, and that's the price of gold in dollars. That just means the dollar is stronger. That doesn't mean gold's worth any more or any less. It just takes less dollars to buy it at the moment. And I think in the interim, you're going to see the gold prices go up too, go back up again. And at the moment, if you're not a stacker, if you're a stacker, you know what the deal is. I don't need to tell you. I'm preaching to the choir. But if you're not a stacker and you just got fiat currency in the bank, or your IRA or wherever, I'm going to highly encourage you to get some gold and silver in your possession. And you don't have to go all in. I'm not. A lot of people think, well, all in or all out. Well, I happen to be all in, but it's taken me many years to come to this conclusion. I don't expect you to come to the same conclusion in weeks. But I highly encourage you to get some silver and gold in your possession. There's going to be many reasons for it. In the case of non-U.S. citizens, and I'm not saying the United States is the greatest place in the world. It's just got the most opportunity, I believe, at the moment. The rest of the world is going to be pretty freaking shaky. And then every country is going to be different. But I highly encourage you to get some gold and silver in your pocket. Going back to any time there's mass migration from country to country, let's say there's a war starts here or the war starts there, kind of like Ukraine. If you were in Ukraine and you had to get out, and you could only take what's on your back, man, that'd have been handy to have, instead of having all your money tied up in a bank somewhere and the bank's basically shut down and you can't get shit out of the bank. You couldn't even get cash. You couldn't get nothing out of the bank. It would have been awful handy to leave that country with a handful of gold. Silver in that case would have been difficult to move, and that's one thing to keep in mind when you're stacking. That silver is hard to move. If you're 100% convinced you're not going anywhere, well, that's fine. But if you ever do need to leave your state and go to a more friendly state, let's say you're in the United States, if you need to go to a more friendly state, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's going to be more difficult to move that silver than it would be the gold. And if you got, let's say you got 2-3 drivers in a vehicle like a Suburban or something, you got a fair amount of silver between you, and you're moving out of state, and you can stay on the road and stay in the truck. You don't have to stop and go to a motel. Then yeah, I think you can get anywhere you want to go here in the United States with that mindset, and you got 2-3 drivers. But honestly, if it's just you or you and the wife trying to get the hell out of Dodge, or you and the wife and the kids trying to get out of Dodge, you're not going to drive 24 hours straight through to get to a better state. You're going to have to stop and go to the hotel. Well, if you've got, let's say, 5,000 ounces or 10,000 ounces of silver because you've been stacking for a good many years, that's going to be a difficult proposition. What are you going to do? Take that into the hotel room with you? Or are you and the wife and the kids are going to sleep in the hotel room, and you're going to sleep out in the truck with your silver? Something to think about. If you ever think you might have to bug out, and there's a lot of people with that mindset that they may have to bug out, I think gold's the way to go. If nothing else, that way you can get out, move, even if, because there's going to be so many people that lose their house, and because they're so levered up, everything they own is actually owned by the bank. They're just making payments on it. When they lose that, they're going to have to go somewhere else. I think many states are going to look just like Michigan did in the 70s. They're going to have to move to another state that's more economy friendly, more industrial, where you're going to have to move. And if you lose everything, what the hell? You're just going to pack it up and go. Even if you're losing your vehicle, so what? Pack it up, fill it full of gas, and drive it to the state wherever you're going. And hey, if they can come find the truck 1,500, 2,000 miles away, good luck. That kind of shit's going to happen, in my opinion. What is interesting, one last note that's interesting, is I've heard Trump actually mention Michigan as an industrial hub. He didn't word the word hub on it, but I'm going to. So that's something to think about if you're a Michigander, or if you're in the Rust Belt, Indiana, Ohio, Michigan. I think we're going to see a reinsurgence of our industrial might. We've got the people here with the knowledge here. What we will have to do is import a lot of young people from other states and possibly other countries, whatever, to get this thing rolling. And as other countries become more and more difficult to live in and make a dollar, or make whatever fiat currency you got, what you got now, more and more people are going to come here. They're just going to pack shit up and go. Just like I said, if you're levered up and you lose everything in your state, you're going to have to move to a state, whether that be Michigan or otherwise, Texas, Florida, whatever. You're going to have to move to a more friendly state. And I think that also goes for people in countries that are going to be war-torn. They're going to be financially strapped, like Britain. They think the way out is to tax the shit out of the people. Well, the first to go are going to be money people. They're going to go. They're going to up and leave. Just like I said, the money people of Canada, they've been squeezed so hard. They're going to go to the U.S. or wherever they think is better. In some cases, not all coming to the U.S. But if they think that the U.S. is far better than than their current country and they've lost everything, they're fucking out of there and they're coming here. And man, is that going to be powerful. I'll talk more about a little bit of geopolitics, but I'm trying to keep it on the positive side. You know, I went through a week, 10 days, 12 days, 2 weeks, something like that, where everything in my head was negative, and I didn't want to share that with anybody. I had to sort it all out and see which way it was going. And now I'm on the positive note. I can see where this is going, or I think I can see where this is going. And again, I'll share more of what I think is on Trump's mind, probably in the next video tomorrow morning. So we're at 35 minutes. I didn't really want to go quite this long, but kind of on a roll. Wanted to spell things out, what I'm seeing, what I'm thinking. We'll see how it goes. See how it shapes up. One last thing, though, I would encourage you, if you do not have any gold and silver in your possession at all, get out there and buy a couple ounces of silver. Get started. Do a little something. That can be the difference, especially if you're levered up to the hilt and you don't have much. That silver can be sold. If you are one of them people that wind up having to move from state to state, that silver can be turned over and buy you enough gas to get here, or to get to wherever you need to go. Where fiat currency isn't going to be worth shit. Ain't going to be able to buy you much of shit. Because people are waking up. The fiat currency is of the world, not just the dollar, of the world. The dollar will be the last to fall, just because it's the currency of the world. It will be the last to fall, but it will fall. I don't know how long that's going to take, but we'll see. As people wake up and realize that the currency and everything they know is fake, and the only thing that's real is God's money, gold and silver, you're going to see gold and silver explode, not only in price, again, because their currency is falling, but availability. That's the next thing is to think about is availability. As of right now, everything in the gold and silver market's pretty quiet, at least in the retail end. Most dealers would love to see you walk in the door. They're not going to charge you a lot over spot unless you're looking for the fancy coin, of which is not the thing to buy right now. You know, if you got $300 and some, maybe $310, buy a 10-ounce bar, maybe buy a couple 5-ounce bars, maybe buy, if you want to be a little more divisible, maybe buy a couple 1-ounce buffaloes, you know, something generic that carries a very low premium. Or maybe you buy, 4, 5, 6, 8 quarters, silver quarters, pre-65 quarters. But I highly recommend you get started. Start thinking, I know it's not much. You look at them 4 quarters and think it's not much, or look at them 2 ounces of silver and think, boy, this isn't much. But it's really something to think about. Once you sit and you've got some in your possession, you got some skin in the game, and you start thinking about this is real money, and this fake dollar is just that. It's fake, and everybody someday is going to wake up. And when the last of them wake up, you're not going to be able to find it. So, all right, guys, thanks. Have a great day. Like and subscribe if you would, and please leave me a comment. I appreciate it. Gives me some more things to talk about. At least let me know what's on everybody's mind. Thanks, guys. Bye.